Hello, Scottsdale. I'm Kelly Corsette, the city's Communications and Public Affairs Director, and I am very pleased to be joined today by Scottsdale Mayor Dave Ortega in his very first video interview with Scottsdale Video Network. Mayor, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. How are you?
Terrific. Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Well, we're very pleased to have you. I know the residents would like to hear from you on a variety of topics. So we'll just jump into a few questions on topics that are certainly top of mind these days. And the very first deals with the fact that among your first official duties as Scottsdale's mayor, when you took office just a few weeks ago, was signing a new emergency order to extend the city's emergency policies and actions in response to COVID-19, and then another emergency order that reestablished a face covering requirement in Scottsdale. Why was reestablishing a local face covering requirement important to you?
It, uh, it was the right decision and easy to make. When it comes to public health, whether it's clean drinking water, sanitation, um, food that's served in restaurants or school cafeterias, of course, the Maricopa County Health Department is always involved. And public safety and health is our primary responsibility.
Well, thank you, Mayor. How has the reaction been in the community?
Overall, it's been amazing. People want to get well. They want their customers to be healthy, and they want us to be able to participate in all the things that we love about Scottsdale. And having face coverings is just one measure. The proclamation included, of course, hand wash, hygiene, and sanitizing surfaces. So that's how we can step forward and step through this a COVID situation.
Thank you, Mayor. Where do you think we stand as a community today, about 10 months into this pandemic, in overall accepting the limitations and the restrictions as we continue the battle against this coronavirus?
Well, of course, not only am I the new mayor, but we have outstanding council members that are tackling the situation in tandem with the three continuing council members. So we know that the pandemic and countermeasures don't care whose term it is. They don't care who's in office. We have an obligation to look at the best techniques, and of course to lead by example, both as a city organization and as a city itself. The health community, the business community have high expectations, and we know that we're sophisticated enough to succeed as we move forward.
When you are considering actions the mayor should take or that the city should take in a situation like this, what points of information do you rely upon? Are there trusted people to whom you turn for information?
Yes, there are. I'm in contact with many medical, health, and county officials, as well as the city manager, in constant contact. For instance, for the rollout of the vaccine, those directives come from availability at the national level, filtered through the county resources, and then certainly many questions arise about when we will get an active vaccination center in the East Valley. So we expect to be in the know, and we certainly have been asking those questions, both for our constituents and then to work in tandem with the healthcare providers. We also intend and always have a COVID-19 update, which is available through our city website, and of course, the Mask Up Arizona program initiated by the governor was essential, is essential, and that's why I felt reinforcing the message with Scottsdale as a face covering mandate is also very key and important. We want everyone coming to Scottsdale, working in Scottsdale, living in Scottsdale, to, well, care for one another and take whatever precautions we can, and then still be active with those precautions in place.
Mayor, given Arizona's position in national headlines related to COVID-19 during the past few months, what do you think are Scottsdale's particular challenges as we look toward the spring, which is traditionally our busy season for tourists and a key time for local businesses?
Well, for decades, Scottsdale is the destination. It comes to mind whether someone's in New York or Chicago or London, and right away they get the itch to come to Scottsdale. And in many ways, it's because of not just the weather and the beauty of our surroundings. Scottsdale's known as a beautiful, clean, and safe city. So that is so embedded in our visitors. We do have, of course, new visitors coming for the first time, but so generally, we in order to meet that need, that pent-up demand, which of course we lost half the season of spring training. We lost certain events that are now being pushed forward. What that means is the visitor may be in Seattle or Chicago, and they are always in top of mind thinking, I got to get to Scottsdale. And that's where the impetus starts. That's where the inquiry starts, and that's where the confidence has to be. In other words, our guests, our family, people that have two houses, one in Scottsdale and elsewhere, have to think of the safety in their own personal surroundings, right? They have to make adjustments in their plans, and that's why it's so important that Scottsdale be not only just a destination of choice and really desire, but also we have to depend that as a country we have safe hometowns where they're originating from. And then knowing they know what Scottsdale's about. They've been here before, so that means confidence in our flight trails, in our reachable transportation mode to get here. So we are known as a destination, as a beautiful, safe, and clean destination. And as long as the travelers feel that, they should know that their high expectations are going to be met here in Scottsdale.
Now, Mayor, you are preparing to enter your second month as mayor of Scottsdale, and of course you had previously served a 4-year term on the city council, so you have that experience. But has anything surprised you so far now that you are in the mayor's office?
Looking back 20 years or looking forward and the now, Scottsdale always has high expectations. Scottsdale decisions are citizen driven. They were decades ago, they are currently, and they will continue to be. So the lead and in our situation is that we want citizen involvement, especially in the general plan. That's the conversation that comes from the bosses, and the bosses are the citizens, the stakeholders. I expected that. We dealt with that when I was a city councilman in crafting the General Plan 2001 that was ratified and approved by the voters. We're at that milestone again, where the general plan, which is that conversation, filtering from residents and all stakeholders, that comes to the leaders as a guiding virtual city. and in a way, I've been through that before. I've known the success of having a general plan conversation that succeeded, that got voted on and approved. Uh, we are 10 years past due on the general plan. Uh, we will uh, listen, we will learn, and we will craft the general plan and the city that the citizens, stakeholders desire. And by that I mean, our colleagues on council, we are here focused intensely on it. We have an amazing staff, and we expect that to address concerns. And frankly, I expect a healthy dialogue. I expect a healthy tug of war, let's say, and that's good. And Scottsdale will come out for the better.
Thank you, Mayor. Would you say that the spirit of the community in Scottsdale, in terms of its willingness to be involved in their government, is the same today as it was when you were previously on the city council in the early 2000s?
Well, in a way, I would call Scottsdale high maintenance. Okay, high maintenance. In other words, when questions come, staff is usually ready, willing, and able to address those needs. And the same thing. Another interesting thing about Scottsdale is it's very systems oriented. All right. So if you're dealing with refuse, waste collection, if you're dealing with planning process and maybe some gaps on notifications or early review and drawing in that participation, Scottsdale will make every effort to develop the system and check the system to make sure it's working. So we hope that, human error always enters into it, but and though even there's a system for evaluating that. One of the interesting gauges that the city has, and I looked at as a civilian, and I looked at it as mayor, is if you go to city, Scottsdale, az.gov, you'll see, or you can search performance. And when you hit performance, it comes up with a dashboard of interesting measures. I mean, it will say police response, 321 seconds, or our goal was 300 seconds, or it may be under or over a certain goal. It has to do with responses, even, let's say leakage on water lines. Well, we want to keep that number. All pipes will wear out or leak somewhere. And, all of these measures is kind of an easy overview of it. Now, of course, we can go deeper into each of those departments, but I think that's an interesting dashboard that we didn't have 20 years ago. So, and it's more than a survey. I know the city's running a survey on citizen satisfaction or whatever, but this is really almost a real-time weekly gauge, and there are targets shown in those particular elements. So whether you underperform or overperform is at least evaluated that way. Part of the shock of the COVID pandemic was some of the economic performance, right? The expectation of a certain level of let's say level of service, or even generating revenues, and it dropped off quite a bit, or just because of the shock. And you can measure that and see when we get back on track. So we are agile. I expect city manager and every department to be responsive, agile, and of course reporting to the mayor's office and also to every council person. If you haven't heard, we get a few hundred emails every day. So that really hasn't changed from years ago when I sat on council. And we will respect every inquiry, and we will try to respond as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Mayor. Shifting back to the topic that we never seem to be able to get too far away from these days, this global pandemic has been a very long and difficult struggle, and it will continue. Within that context, what things do you see that give you optimism for the future?
Wow. You know, obviously, Scottsdale is not a terrarium. You know, we're not just enclosed by a dome and isolated. We can do what we can for recycling and such, but by the time we give it out to the vendor, who knows where it'll land? We hope it will be recycled. We have this global pandemic that's affecting first world countries, second world countries, and third world countries. There are no countermeasures in third world countries. I say that my son's assigned as a diplomatic officer in South America. They don't have ICUs. They don't have respirators. They can't survive the brutal consequences of the COVID. It's very, very heartbreaking. So here we have resources, and our resources in the medical community are being taxed, you know, almost to the limit. And maybe we take for granted that we have wonderful Honor Health and Banner Health and Mayo. And, but in fact, those resources are also limited. And that's why it's so important that we do our share. And many of the fatalities really have been prevented because we have intervention tools. And the long-term consequences, health consequences, mental effects, and then the serious economic harm is all going to be weighing on us for years to come. So that's why I really feel we have to be on constant alert. We have to know and preserve our medical resources. It's up to us. And you know, one of the things that I saw driving by Mojave, you know, middle school where our kids went to school, and they were out of session, and the kids were walking to their schools, and they had face coverings, and they were still chatting and had their, you know, musical instruments, and you know, here they are, 12, 13-year-olds, and they were doing their part. And I know that as a citizen, as a leader, the business world knows this is a battle, and we can all do our part. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to get through this. Another thing that I'm very aware of is so many nonprofits in Scottsdale actually do work worldwide. They're involved in you know, orphanage programs and missions and lots of areas. So they know the reality of the horrible cost of this pandemic. And I know that once we get on our feet again, and we are successful, we will be successful, that not only will we appreciate the simple things, right? Eating at a restaurant or enjoying the games, but we'll know that we all contributed to getting there.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor, for that sentiment. Is there anything else you would like to share with Scottsdale residents before we wrap up today?
You know, every year and every sometimes season, there's a challenge. And there are the known challenges and the unknown challenges. So we're getting through, you know, we're in the middle of a historic challenge. And it all comes down to our individual strengths. I see that every day. Businessmen or women will tell me, you know, we're moving forward with projects, and we don't have downtime in planning for success. And I see that with the staff. I see that with my colleagues on council. So I know working together with the best intentions, Scottsdale is going to continue to emerge as one of the most desirable cities in the world.